Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you my top 3 budget teams for Ultra Premier Classic. Now, statistically, these teams are actually pretty monstrous. They actually, if you looked at the rankings or looked at the, if you looked at them back in the day, these 10k dust second move, community move mons actually did really well, so ridiculously well that I know some people that made rank 10/legend with these teams or variations of them are just literally you'll see very shortly. Anyways, as you see here, please consider contributing at ppoke.com. So if you go to Ultra Premier Classic, if you noticed, a lot of the top mons are community move Pokemon. Literally, you got Swampert, you got Venusaur, hell, you got even Charizard. It's not on the super big list as you see here. Sadly, it does not take the number of 69. However, it's still incredibly powerful and does really well against a lot of meta picks. So, with that being said, just because community moves are so powerful, with great energy and shield management, you too can do very well with these teams. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so team number 1 is Venusaur, Swampert, Safe Switch, and Charizard is going to close out. Now, here's the thing. If you win the lead with Venusaur, say a Swampert, and they throw the Dragon Breath into you, or it's a Empoleon, they throw Kingdra into you, Charizard with Dragon Breath beats them into 2 shields. Giving you... It's a really dicey combination. So, if you look over here, here's Charizard, right? Okay, here's Charizard. So, if we go on to Dragonite... Alright, so here's Dragonite. So, this is what happens when you battle Dragonite. You convincingly beat it in the 2 shield. Dragonite loses to Charizard in the 2 shield. But, if it's Kingdra, here's what happens. It's Kingdra, and you get Charizard into it. Charizard attacks high enough to where... Oh, wait, that's Dragonite. Whoops. Okay, hold on. Just switch this around. You're like, wow, King of Charmanders, you can't type for crap. Well, yes, you can give me crap in the comments, so I will allow that. But as you see here, Charizard still wins even with 1 debuff, as you see here. So, if they don't debuff at all, you're going to have to shield both. However, if they don't debuff at all, as you see here, so you're going to shield it, but if they don't debuff, Charizard wins convincingly. Even if you debuff once, Charizard still wins. But as you see here, it's still a really rough... it's going to still be really rough for you because you're going to be down... you're going to have to, if you're this Kingdra user, you're going to be down 2 shields if you want to, but you're still going to lose. So, you might as well just let it go. So, that's why Charizard is so powerful with Dragon Breath. And it's a really great mon. Couple that with Blast Burn and Dragon Claw, you got a recipe for disaster for your opponent. But again, this banks on you winning the lead, or them switching a Dragon Breath user into you. Of course, if you lose the lead, you're going to have to switch in Swampert. Swampert with Hydro Cannons are going to go to town. Now, here's the thing about Swampert. It's Swampert, you're going to have Earthquake. You're like, why King of Charmanders? Dragonite. I know, but here's the thing. Hydro Cannon, you want to chip away Hydro Cannon as much as you can. Earthquake is double resisted by Flyer, so it doesn't matter anyways. You're going just Hydro Cannon down, do as much damage as possible. Farm now with Charizard. Hopefully Charizard with energy and Venusaur can close out. Hopefully. But this team is super budget, as in all 3 of them are 10k dust. Yes, all community move mons are going to need elite TMs unless you've already built them. However, they perform very well, and this is actually a top team component. In the previous team, they just kind of flipped around. It used to be Charizard the lead instead of Venusaur, but there's another team variation like that, and you'll see that very shortly. Actually, it's the next team on this list. Despite this fact, as you see, the team has a relatively low threat score. With great energy management, and like I said, great instincts, if you switch fast enough, etc., you will be able to do very well against the overall meta with 3 10k dust mons. Venusaur leads, Swampert with Earthquake is your safe switch, and Charizard to close out with Dragon Breath. Alright, next up we have Charizard leads, Swampert as your safe switch, and Venusaur to close out. Again, like I mentioned with the last team, this has Charizard to lead instead of Venusaur. You will use Fire Spin this time around. You can use Dragon Breath. It's up to you. With Dragon Breath, you could take out you will take out the dragons, like I mentioned. With Fire Spin, though, you get that matchup against Magnezone. So if you get a Magnezone, Magnezone has to be really careful about not eating a Blast Burn. You could bait with Dragon Claw, but again, you you give Magnezone a little bit of trouble with Charizard in the lead, because Fire Spin does super effective damage. And if you get Excavalier or Scizor, Charizard will burn them down with Fire Spin. This was actually a very powerful top team from the previous, when Ultra Premier Cup was still Ultra Premier Cup last year. This team did very well. I 5-0'd a lot of times with this team. Like, not like, yes, it's like some of those were like sheer luck, but the reason why I 5-0'd a lot is because with great energy management, this team actually does really well against a lot of the meta. Blast Burn or any of the community moves will do super power damage. Not saying you're going to get as lucky as I am with a lot of 5-0s because it does require energy match, etc. I've had to pull a few sacks for some of those games, but this team is still incredibly strong. A lot of people have actually praised this team. A lot of friends I know have used this budget team, and it's just super strong. Like, yeah, they're like, how does this not encompass rock, paper, scissors? Like I said, just because community moves are very overpowered. With that being said, with this team alone, it gets the rankings from a lot of my top teams that I've given you just because it's really that good. No community move or like most teams aren't going to have a C or higher for both for Ultra Premier Classic. But as you see, all 3 community move mons do really well against the overall meta. Outside of seeing a Goodra. So Goodra is probably going to be your worst nightmare in this team. As you see here, it's the top thing that you are going to have to watch out for. It will beat, like, if you look at the 2-shield scenario with it, it's very difficult. So Goodra versus Charizard, here's what happens. Goodra will win. If you have Dragon Breath, it's still a rough one. So if you want to, you can use Wing Attack, but again, Fire Spin still does a lot. But as you see, Goodra still loses against Charizard. So I am wrong, but Goodra does not take out Charizard. That's right, this is the 2-shield. Goodra does not do well with Charizard in the 2-shield. Other than that, with Fire Spin, you can use Dragon Claw. Use Dragon Claw to force Dragonite shields, and then have Swampert and Venusaur close out against Dragonite if you catch in the lead. You could use Dragon Bazar, but just the utility and Blast Burn does a ton of damage. So if you get a Snorlax lead and you Blast Burn through shields, it does a ton of damage. So there's still a lot of things to do. And like I mentioned, this is before Dragon Breath Zard came out, that this team was still extremely powerful. It ranked very high in the top teams, and like I mentioned, performed extremely well. And that threat score is just legendary. I mean, look at those 2 digits. Absolutely amazing. All right, and the last but not least, as you see, this is pretty much the same exact team. Instead, you were using Gyarados as a safe switch, though. Gyarados with Dragon Breath does beat out all the other Dragon Breath users, and with the Crunch debuff, the Crunch debuff, defense does debuff sometimes if you use Crunch. It's arguably made Gyarados even stronger, and can create some plays where if you do debuff with Crunch, and your opponent does shield, where you will be able to farm down with Venusaur or Charizard. So it's gotten better. This actually was tied for the top team, I believe, in like Season 4 or 5. So, despite the fact that everyone was using all their combinations and all the previous top teams I mentioned to you are still really good, this team actually was able to take the reins as number 1, or tied with number 1. So it was at one point the strongest team statistically. However, compared to the other teams, this does have a C for coverage, D for bulk. D for bulk is pretty average in Ultra Premier Classic. Great safety. And B for consistency. Anything with community moves is going to have a B for consistency or higher, just because they do so much damage. But Gyarados is a fantastic safe switch. As you see here, it's able to take on a lot of switches in the meta that give you shields or set you up so that you could farm down whatever's left if they survive. Very, very powerful, and this team, it kind of sucks, and the reason why I hesitate a little bit is because of Magnezone. If you see a Magnezone, it's going to kill you very hard. And an Ampharos will kill you very hard as well. However, what you can do is try to break shields, and then you can Fire Spin down with Charizard. Charizard can Fire Spin down, hopefully get the debuff from Crunch, and then you can just throw all that energy in the back, and hopefully you still have a win condition. So, if you line up, if there's a Swampert in the back with Venusaur, often that's what happens when you use this team or use the previous team, then you can still come out with a W. As you see, 695, very high threat score. However, like I mentioned, like with the last one, they rated very high. And at this point, like I mentioned before, this team did rank number 1 or tie with number 1 as far as the top team goes. Very simple. You lose the lead, you stay switching to Gyarados. You farm down or do as much damage as you can. Try to win back switch if you can. Realign with Venusaur or Charizard. And then after that, if there is something, if it goes the other way around, if you're alive, or whatever is in front of you alive, farm down with Charizard or Venusaur like I mentioned, and then have a bajillion energy to throw the back, and hopefully you still have a win condition. So, basically the ways you could play these teams. But they're all budget, they're very powerful, and like I mentioned, they rated very high for a good reason. They're good. They're cheap. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Yes, these are budget teams, are very like, what the heck, King of Charmanders? They work? Yes, they do. And they're pretty dang good too. from experience using them, and I've actually beat top leaderboard players using these, so or former legends. So if you don't think they don't work, they do work. If you're good with energy management, and even though you're behind, or if you're good at chipping away at your enemy and like gauging things, you could possibly come out with win conditions. Possibly. But these teams, not only from my own opinion, but statistically, they performed again in top teams and have consistently been really, really good, considering they are, again, 3 Pokemon that have second moves that only have 10k dust. So it's really cheap. Yes, they have community moves. Unfortunately, if you are looking to do that, budget teams, at least my definition as of right now, are at least you have the components for them. If not, ask a friend and then spend the rest of the dust you need or candies to, well, you need dust and candies to power up. So excuse me, I'm wrong. Dust and candies to power up your said Pokemon. Anyways, I hope these teams do help you guys out. I'll be using them in practice when, well, it depends. I might be using them, but we'll see. But I plan to use them for practice in Ultra Premier Cup or to feature them in video. So we'll take a look. If it worked for you, let me know, submit them, and then I might go ahead and feature it for my Battle Shoutcast. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. Do me a huge favor, and please like and subscribe. It's totally free, and all you have to do to subscribe is, you see that little button at the bottom right? Just put your mouse over it, subscribe, boom. Really appreciate my current subscribers. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!